All right, I got a sales call that came in from Daybreak, and I'm gonna give them a call back after I do a little research, and then I got my trusty ad sales cheat sheet here, so we're gonna see how it goes. Gonna walk them through Lyft and some of my favorite questions here. So I just find that phone number.
Hello?
Hey, it's Kenny from Red Bank Green.
Hi, how are you?
Doing all right? How about yourself?
I'm pretty good.
Cool. Is now still a good time for you?
It is, yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, thank you for reaching out. You came in through that little widget on Red Bank Green, right? Daybreak, or we call it Daybreak, but it's that little form that you fill out.
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I think it said free week of advertising. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I figure what I could do is tell you a little bit about that and how it works. But first, I want to ask if you have a few minutes. Are you good for about 15 minutes?
I am, yes.
Sweet. So what I figured I'd do is kind of like learn a little bit about what you're trying to promote. Maybe ask a few questions and tell you what we're doing here at Red Bank Green. We have a lot of fun doing it, and I think it's good for Red Bank. And see if it's something that we can put together for you. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about when you saw that on Red Bank Green, why it seemed like a good idea in the moment, and go from there.
Okay. I read Red Bank Green all the time, and I am a Red Bank instructional ceramic studio, but I don't have a storefront, so nobody knows that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So when people discover that I'm here, they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know you were here!" And so it's a small studio. I have 4 wheels, and so we do wheel classes and hand building classes, and sometimes workshops. And I also have a membership option. And the great thing about our studio is that we have a really nice little community of people who take classes, and our classes are like semi-private instruction. It's really personal. So you really do learn, especially on the wheel, where typically when you're in a wheel class, it's maybe 10 people. And I've taught classes like that. It's really hard to get around to everybody before they make mistakes and before they get the mistakes sort of ingrained into how they're doing it. So it's hard to get to them before they develop a bad habit. It's just too many people. So with 4 people on the wheel, I really am able to give everybody personal attention. So they really learn how to throw. And my classes are relatively inexpensive, considering the amount of personal instruction that you receive. I'm really all about creating a space where, people can come together, in person in real life and not, online and get along. So,
yeah.
And I'm also a lot about the healing property of art making and helping people to reconnect with that part of themselves that, especially for adults, is usually buried. Art won't make you any money. Maybe they always wanted to do art, but they, got talked into doing something else, and now they're reconnecting with that. But there's people always come in with all these preconceived ideas of what's good and what's not good. And so I'm really interested in, helping people leave those beliefs outside and just give themselves permission to make mistakes and to learn from what they're doing, and really to, not just have fun, but really do some self-exploration, because it happens whether you're paying attention to it or not. And so I want people to pay attention to it. So I was a yoga teacher and a Reiki master for a whole bunch of years. So I bring all of that kind of sensibility to my work as a ceramic artist and as a teacher.
So how much do the classes usually cost?
So a hand building class is $330 for a 6-week session, and the wheel class is $395.
Okay, cool. That is reasonable. How many people do you normally have in? It's group classes?
They're group classes. I also do private lessons as well, but the group classes are a maximum of 6 people. So for both a hand building and a wheel throwing class, so I can only have 4 people because I only have 4 wheels, but I can have 2 people who already know hand building and can work kind of independently in that class. So it's a maximum of 6 people in the studio at any one time.
Mm-hmm. How many classes do you typically have running at any given time?
Currently up to 4 classes, but potentially up to 6, depending on how many students and when they're available. So I can actually be a little bit flexible. I had a second teacher who was teaching 2 of the classes, and I was teaching 2 of the classes. She had to take medical leave. She may be coming back in our next session, in which case I'll be adding a class. So it can be flexible. Right now it's 4 classes a week, 2 classes during morning hours and 2 classes in the evening.
Okay, got it. So when people go to a class and they come out, they had a really great experience. What are some things that they say? Like, what do they tend to rave about?
They really like the personal attention. They like that they really learned how to do it, how to do the wheel. They like the small, the small group. They like the other students. They love the fact that they get to play with clay and just, do something they probably haven't done either since high school. Like I have a lot of people, I did it in high school or I did it in college, and I loved it. But and they like the fact that for those 3 hours, the classes are 3 hours long. They really like unplug from the world in a way that almost nothing else does that. So they really get they like the experience of being in the class and just being immersed in a way that they're not in kind of other activities.
Got it. Okay. So is there anything that you've found over time that people are surprised, or maybe any preconceptions that might have kept people from coming there in the first place? I know the location is one of the things but do they have any ideas about being a beginner and feeling
yes, absolutely. Yes, people absolutely come in with, well, I've never done this before, and they're very nervous. They feel like they're intimidated. They think, they may think that they're supposed to already know how to do this. And I always tell them, well, why would you be expected to know something when you're coming into an instructional place to learn to do that? Absolute beginners are welcome. And people who are well-developed, ceramic artists are welcome. It's awesome to have a mix of people because you ultimately learn from each other. I'm just going to give you the basics of here's how to do the thing. Here's how to make a coil pot. Here's how to make this kind of a thing. And then I always learn so much from the people who were in my classes, who were better than me, who were, had more experience than me, or who were trying something different than I was that I might not have thought of. So people tend to really like the community aspect of it and just being in that kind of a learning environment, which is kind of not what adults tend to do, right? Mm-hmm. Kids are used to being in learning environments, but adults aren't so much. So it can be really intimidating for adults to be in an environment where they're learning and they have these ideas that they're expected to already know things. And we like to put people's minds at ease about, expectations, and just to sort of leave them and make sure that everybody feels welcome.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So on that note, what are some questions that maybe first timers ask you a lot, or that just seem to come up over and over when people find out that you run?
They want to know if a lot of times people want to come and just try it. So we offer things like friends night or like a date night or that kind of a thing where you could get either a couple of people or a small group of people together and come in and do just like an evening. And so that's usually a 2 or a 3 hour experience of throwing on the wheel or hand building something. because clay making is a process, it's difficult to do things in a one-time session, right? So people want to know, oh, can I just drop in? Can I just come in? And it kind of doesn't work that way, because the clay has to be worked at various stages of it drying in order to end up with the finished product. So we do like a date night where you come in and you aren't going to learn throwing from the very beginning, but we're going to get you to the point where you've thrown something, then you'll come back for another session, trim it, and then come back again to glaze it. So there's also an option where if you really don't want to come back, I can trim your piece for you and you tell me what kind of glaze you want, and then you could come pick it up when it's finished. So we do offer like that kind of thing, like a try it out thing. People often want to know if I have drop-in hours, but because it's such a small studio, I kind of can't really do that. It also means that not only commit to like the class and doing it, but you commit to yourself. You commit to making that time every week, to do something for yourself, which is a lot of people are very reluctant to do, especially women.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And I don't know, sometimes like making time for yourself, it always seems to like take a back seat over every other thing in the world that's trying to get your attention.
100%. Yep.
Definitely. Have you ever done any advertising before?
I advertised in Tri-City News once. I don't make a ton of money. I don't have a big budget for advertising. So, and I've done like when they did Broadwalk and they had the vendors, it wasn't this past summer, it was the summer before I did that, in order to promote classes, and especially kids classes. Did not get a single person. So, I have to, those were not cheap. I have to be careful because I can, throw a lot of money at, putting ads in, but if I'm not getting any return on that.
Right.
But because it's Red Bank Green and it's pretty local, I figured this might be a good place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'll explain a little bit about like why, like what I do at Red Bank Green is very informed by my background in advertising in general. And so for me, I put a lot of focus into kind of doing what usually the intention is, which is to get new customers. And I focus on like lead generation and getting people to we're just about to run a campaign for McKay. If you know Bob and Liz over at McKay, the photographers.
Yep.
So, and that's a very, we're getting them new clients. So, but if everything, so let's just say when you do advertising, especially if you're going to do it with Red Bank Green and this week, if everything worked out exactly the way you'd hoped, what does that look like kind of in your head?
Ideally I would have 4 full classes a week. So I only have 6 spots. It shouldn't, I think the reason that they're not all full is that people don't know I'm here. So, it would be nice to have more people signed up for classes, honestly.
So when you say 6 spots, that is, you have like basically 6 seats for available people.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I have 6. Well, so for example, in my Monday class, I usually have 2 of those spots taken, but there's 4 more. I'd like to fill those 4 seats.
Got it. Okay. And altogether across all your classes, you have 6 availabilities.
Correct. In each class. So that's, 6 4 times.
So we have those completely filled. What does that do for the business? What does it do for you if we're actually able to get that like 100% filled?
I could have more classes. I could maybe hire another teacher and add more so that I could accommodate more people. And then ultimately I'd like to move into a larger space so that I could have more classes or larger classes or expand the membership opportunity.
Got it. Okay. So basically, along those lines, like idea of a bigger space, another teacher, like what's kind of the vision over the next few years if everything goes exactly as you'd hoped?
Taking on a new teacher for sure, stepping back from teaching beginner classes and maybe being able to offer more advanced classes that I teach. I do sculptural work, so I'd like to be able to teach some of that. having a larger space, having more members, being able to offer more workshops and being more visible. So even if I were more visible, I probably would get more interest in drop-in kind of people who would just want to come in and make something. And I might be able to add a day where you could come in and make something. I know that there's a woman in Montclair. I think she owns like 3 or 4 studios at this point. I don't know how she does it. But they have a lot of drop-in stuff, and she's got a huge staff. And I don't want it to be that big, honestly. I want it to be managed. I don't want to just be running a business. I want to still be doing ceramics. So, but that would kind of be my vision, would be just, a larger space that's got more opportunity for other options, because right now the space is so small, it really is limiting.
Mm-hmm. So if you get the bigger space, you have the teacher, you kind of, everything is like bursting at the seams the way you'd hoped. I always like to ask, because I like to understand how I'm like kind of helping not only the business, but like the people behind it. Like, what does that do for you? How does it play into kind of the larger, like, kind of like your purpose, your passion, what you like doing, on this planet?
Yeah. It gives me some time to also to have more help, to have more money coming in, to hire more help, but also for me to work on my own artwork a little bit more. So right now I'm very focused on the business and expanding classes, which doesn't leave a ton of time for me to do my own work. So if I have other teachers teaching the classes, that leaves more time for me to work on my own work while also still having an income.
So I think like basically getting that place where you're focused on your own art, like it kind of comes all the way back to just letting people know you exist in the first place, and like kind of doing a really good job with that. So, all right. So this is, I'll kind of explain. I know we went a little over 15. Do you still have a few minutes?
I do. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
So I'll kind of explain a little bit about Red Bank Green, why I do what I do, and kind of my approach to solving a problem like this. And then I'll, explain the process and what it looks like going forward if you want to do that.
Okay.
So, I took over Red Bank Green. I'd been very involved since 2011. And, John Ward, did you know John Ward, the original publisher, by chance?
Yep. He actually did a small piece in like the retail churn when we first opened. So that was probably about 4 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, so he came to the studio, asked me some questions, took some pictures.
So when I first started working with John, I was really just doing a lot of the software development, the advertising, and I worked at Yahoo at the time. So like Red Bank Green was kind of like I was just being involved. I've lived in Red Bank since about 2011, and got to know him and his wife Trish. And then a few years ago, he said that he's like, hey, listen, I'm like basically on the verge of burnout. He's like, I'm looking to maybe find a way for Red Bank Green to keep going, which Red Bank Green was always an extremely small bit. I mean, to even really call it a business, it was really a passion project.
Yep.
So he asked if I wanted to take it over. And I was like, that sounds, because I knew how hard he worked on just keeping the whole thing.
Right.
And, but then I started to think about it. I was like, what would Red Bank be without Red Bank Green? And I started to think about the Red Bank Register. I started to think about like, kind of like, what? Red Bank is much better off with at least somebody shining the light in this town. And I didn't want to see Red Bank Green go anywhere. And then I started to think, well, you know what? If we do Red Bank Green, we can have fun with it. Because that's kind of like the thing that I really like to do is like, I like to build, I like to create. I am a creative person, and I tend to do it with software. A lot of people think that's kind of like a geek. I look at it as a creative endeavor, but the reason, like one of the really big reasons I do what I do is really just to keep shining the light in Red Bank for as long as I possibly can. I've told people that long live local news, Red Bank Green is going to stand for 100 years, just like the Red Bank Register that came before it. The thing is, to make that happen, it's just like, it's not a one person thing. Like I can be part of the equation, but like other people have to be part of the equation too. And sometimes that's readers, like they have to be on board. That's like business owners, that's a community. So if like you really, people who really want to appreciate what Red Bank Green does, it's a group effort. And my values when it comes to Red Bank Green is like the community of Red Bank, like really just building the tightest community and being the best reflection of the community that we possibly can.
Mhm.
Being so the vitality of Red Bank is critical. I think this is where a lot of publishers kind of fall short. Really thinking about the businesses and how we can help them thrive and how we can help them prosper. Because like that is such, it's not just the readers, it's the businesses. That's what makes Red Bank what it is. And then importantly, just having a lot of fun. So
Mhm.
you've probably noticed that on Red Bank Green, the advertising is a little bit different than what you're going to see anywhere else.
Mhm.
Um, and that is by design, is that
Mhm.
I don't just slap an ad on there and say, hey, run at your own risk. Like I take personal
Mhm.
accountability to making sure I do the thing that, whoever I'm talking to. That's why I ask you a lot of questions to kind of understand more about what you're
Mhm.
working on. And so there's three reasons that our advertisers, when people advertise with us, for one, is because they appreciate to some degree what we're doing. But two, it's because there's like three things that we do better than anyone else. And one is that we make sure that you're front and center and everyone sees you and you're integrated as part of the community. Like we
Mhm.
want people to see you and not just putting the ad up there. Number two, the products. It's not like we just take a static ad and stick it on the site, like kind of like you would do if you were going to run it in a paper.
Mhm.
It's just kind of sitting there passively on the side. Like what we're going to do for McKay is really bringing pictures of stuff,
Mhm.
um, like front and center. Like we're going to do like pictures of their weddings, then pictures of their corporate photos. So really
Mhm.
designing like a campaign that is like perfect for them. And
Mhm.
then the last part is the performance. Like I obsessively look over the reports to make sure that people are engaging with the units, and I want to have some indicator that people are actually uh, signing up to work with you. So a quick
Mhm.
example: any chance Dominic Callerin of Deluxe Landscaping? He was on like the board of ed and
I don't.
okay. So he ran with us earlier in the year. He needed 10 new landscaping clients. The reason is
Mhm.
that he wanted to hire a new supervisor. So
Mhm.
basically, he wanted 10 more, and we really pushed it. We did a lead gen campaign where you could get an estimate for Dominic for a spring cleanup and stuff like that. And he ended
Mhm.
up getting about 10 accounts out of it. So that's only possible if there's someone who's obsessively focused on making the whole thing successful. So the way that I normally work is that after a call like this, what I'll do is I'll put together kind of like a mock-up or example of something that I think would probably be a good thing to run for about a week.
Mhm.
And it's with the goal of getting people to know that you're there and know that you exist. Beyond the
Mhm.
week, if you want to keep working, if you say, hey, you know what, that was a completely different experience than anyone else I'd ever worked with, then normal advertising with Red Bank Green is about $575 for the month, and we do that for 3 months. And that's like in your case, that's probably going to be um, probably more than you'd spent on advertising in the past, but
Mhm.
the goal is to fill those seats, right? Because that ends up being my responsibility. It's like it's
Okay.
again, it's not passive. It's like, okay, how can I integrate you? How can I make sure people know that you exist? Because I know if we
Mhm.
do that successfully and we fill those seats, it unlocks a lot of other things beyond that.
Mhm.
So the first week is kind of like it's like when you're standing in line at the ice cream place. It's kind of that taste test. You get a sense of what it's like to work with me and Nicolette at Red Bank Green. She's going to be someone who helps me out.
Okay.
So we run that for a week, and then you decide if it's something you would want to keep doing. Does that sound like it might work for you?
Yeah. I mean, it is more than I typically would spend, but like I said, I spent $400 on a Tri-City ad, and it was a one-time deal. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know people read Red Bank Green, and I know they see the ads. I
Yeah.
mean, I do. So I know other people must as well. So it seems like it's the right place. So I'm absolutely interested in certainly doing the week and seeing how that goes and
Mm-hmm.
what it feels like.
Yeah. What's interesting is that Red Bank Green started as kind of like John Ward's project, and
Mm-hmm.
now it has become the de facto local news. Like I don't want to say even
Yeah.
like local news site, but we've got 40,000 people who read Red Bank Green every month, and
Yeah.
it's Fairhaven, it's Little Silver, it's
Mm-hmm.
Middletown. Red
Yeah.
Bank is the core of it, but people, may not recognize, kind of like in your case, like they might not think of us as like the quote unquote news, but like we are the de facto news site now. Over 20 years, we've built up the most loyal audience there is. There's people on our social media channels who say, long live local news. They're invested in what we do.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yes, and there's also the commenters.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other thing. Hey, you know what? You got to. It's like what's Red Bank without the dive bar, right? It's like you got to have the grit too.
That's a hilarious analogy. It's really funny.
Yeah. So what else?
Five guys who sit at the stools and never shut up. Yes.
Right. Totally. So all right. So what I'll do is, if all that sounds good, what I'll do is I'll put together kind of like.
I'm not under any obligation to continue after the week, right? I mean, this is just like we're on a trial.
Yeah, this is a trial.
Okay.
I would. So, are you open to the idea of continuing if everything goes?
I am. Yes, I just want to. Yeah, that's
right.
That's a pretty big investment for me, so I just want to.
Oh, totally. No, I want it to ultimately be a no-brainer. I want it to be something that brings you customers, and obviously, like, I think those customers, when you bring a new customer, there's probably some compounding effect over time. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you bring
they definitely spread word of mouth. Yes, right. For sure.
So sometimes like the math gets a little, interesting when you're thinking about it. But my goal is to really just knock it out of the park for you for a week. And then we'll see what's what after that. But if that sounds good, I'll put together a spec, something that I think we could run on Red Bank Green, give you a shout on Instagram, and then you'll get a sense of what it's like to work with me. We'll go from there, right?
Okay. I will say that our next, so I run 6-week sessions. Let me just let me just pull up my website and see when the next session is going to end up starting, because I want to, just timing wise, it sort of makes sense for people to know when the next session will start.
Yeah, it's good. So I find that in terms of timing, for anything that's like usually a month out, like basically if it's going to be, there's a few points where like a month out, and then usually the week before. Because you're going to get people who plan ahead. That's like 50% of them. And then you're going to get stragglers who do everything last second.
Yep.
So, so usually one of those, I think it's better if you can get both groups. Like we just did a campaign for Indie Street Film Festival, and that's the way it always works. It's like a month out, few days ahead. They had, in Jay Webb's words, they had 50% more sales than they did last year, and the most they ever had. And a big part of that is because of how much we pushed it on Red Bank Green. So, so if one of those works or both.
Okay. The next session will end on October 23rd. So theoretically, the session after this will start on the 27th of October. So.
Okay, perfect.
And that's the session that'll go through the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. Yeah, I'm hosting an event I do virtual webinars for Broad Street. I actually teach and train publishers around the country, and in some cases in Australia, around the world, on basically doing really effective campaigns. And so the event's on the 27th. I get a lot of people, close to 1,000 publishers show up. But I always start in the same exact way. I start promoting a month before, and then a week before is another push, and then the week of. So I actually do 3 there, but just good to know.
Yep, that makes sense.
Anyway, all right. I really appreciate all the time that you gave me. Again, my name is Kenny. It was really nice talking to you. I tend to be kind of like in the background. Brian does most of the reporting and stuff like that. But
great, okay.
But I work on the business side of it, and I want to make this work for you. So I'll shoot you an email. Probably CCing Nicolette. We'll go from there, right?
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.